Presumably, if you clicked on this video or it came up in your subscription feed, then you are a big enough fan of Star Trek to know, or at least recognize, a Starfleet shuttlecraft, regardless of if you can determine its class or type. And they all look pretty much alike anyway. Big box with nacelles. I have often seen people talk about these spacecraft as minivans in space. Something you can use to drop an away team off at 3 and pick the kids up from soccer practice at 4. Worse, they're sometimes referred to as flying bricks. Well, not worse because they basically are, but that's something people call them. Or, what I find offensive, totally useless when a ship has transporters. Needless to say, compared to all of the big fancy shiny cruisers and explorers, these ships don't make most fans' top 10 lists of Starfleet vessels. And they get even fewer mentions on websites and YouTube videos, like this one. Okay, actually this video is not a good example of how little attention these ships, given its title and subject matter, they get, but regardless, we're gonna power through because this is about the only Starfleet shuttlecraft video I know. So the point still stands. Maybe. Moving on. So, do shuttlecraft deserve this reputation of being somewhat junk, not very practical ships in a universe with matter-antimatter, matter transporters? Well, no, they don't. Not at all. Though they do look like minivans, on that I will wholeheartedly agree, and this is someone who has ridden in a lot of minivans in my younger years. But as far as practicality and usability goes, I would argue that if given the option between a shuttlecraft and a transporter, the shuttle is easily the more useful of the two choices, and vastly preferable for most jobs other than moving a few people over a few short kilometers distance. And there are a few reasons why I think this. Firstly, let's see just how a shuttlecraft of any type stacks up to a transporter. You might think that the transporter wins this contest fairly easily. After all, it can move people and supplies from one place to another virtually instantaneously. But it has two major limitations that impact its ability to replace a shuttlecraft in all situations. First off, a transporter has a limited range. We don't know how limited its range is, and it likely goes up throughout the shows as technology progresses. Archer's Enterprise's transporter is going to have a shorter range than Kirk's Enterprise's transporter, and that ship will have a shorter range transporter than Picard's Enterprise's, or the Stargazer. But compared to a shuttlecraft that can go virtually anywhere, even at warp to other star systems light years away, a transporter just can't match that. And given how often characters take shuttles on journeys lasting several days, it's obvious the writers of the various Trek series appreciate shuttlecraft, if only because they're a useful plot device of shoving two characters that don't necessarily get along into a tight space so they can come to a greater understanding. And second off, we have the simple fact that a shuttlecraft is just more energy efficient than a transporter. Now, before you say something in the comments like, you're an idiot, clearly a shuttle is a big, complicated spacecraft, while a transporter just moves people from one place to another, so it must be more efficient because it doesn't have an engine, let me just say that the maths back me up here. In fact, Einstein himself backs me up, I think. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to destroy something down to the molecular level, and takes just as much energy to make the same thing out of thin air at another location. E.m.c. squared, that equation. That's basically what a transporter is doing, moving on swiftly from my failings in mathematics. It makes an exact copy of you at a different location while destroying the original you at the initial location. Next to this, a shuttlecraft would almost certainly take less energy to get you, the original actual you, from one place to another. So if you are wanting to move people or small amounts of cargo, short distances, and time is of the essence, then yes, a transporter is likely the way to go. But if you want to move large numbers of people or tons and tons of cargo, or send a few people a long distance away because you're tired of them and you want them to go away, then a shuttlecraft is probably the way to go as well. And at the same time, when flying in a shuttlecraft, the only thing you have to worry about is a fiery crash to your death or a systems failure in deep space. You don't run the risk of having your atoms spliced with your friend, creating a weird hybrid, or having an evil twin made from your darkest thoughts and go on a rampage on the ship and you be blamed for it. That alone is reason enough why I would never take a transporter. I've seen the shows. I know what could happen. So I know this is a fairly short video, but I just wanted to explain in what I hope is a coherent way why shuttlecraft rock in Star Trek. Let me know if you agree with my reasoning, what your favorite shuttlecraft is, if you would ever use a transporter, if you're not a chicken like me. Also, if you like this video, then consider giving it a like and maybe subscribing to the channel. Regardless of what you do or thought of the video, hope you have a good day.